Joanna, welcome back. We are discussing recent developments and the consequences of the Biden-Harris proposal. What's your view on this?
I think it's a very ambitious proposal. I think beyond the tax issues that we're discussing today, also politically, it's important for US for this to be successful, because that would reestablish US as a global player, because they are the ones that are really dictating the terms of this deal at a global level. So it's extremely important to succeed. The success will depend on how they're negotiating it. And one thing that they need to be careful about is the details of this deal, because right now it is rather vague. And I think what a lot of countries are going to try to do is to change the parameters of the deal to maybe exclude some of the corporations from their own country. And being a negotiation, I would encourage them to throw in some carrots in there for the countries and for the corporations that might abide with these new rules. And this could be anything from, some publishing of white list of countries and corporations that do pay taxes, their fair share of taxes, to maybe transform this deal and not make it just about tax collection, but also make it about we're getting revenue to really finance some really important goals that all of us agree that they're essential. So linking it to financing the global sustainable goals would be something to think about, or climate change, or something like that. Then, of course, you need to calibrate a little bit also the minimum level that they came up with, because you actually want to leave some leeway to countries to actually set a marginal tax rate that is higher than that. So if you're setting it too high, you're just not allowing them too much opportunity to actually go higher if there is some need to do that. And finally, I think it's also an issue of dividing this corporate tax pie. Because right now, as it stands, it's all going to be divided between US and Europe, if we're being honest. And therefore, to try to get everyone around the table and get as many stakeholders to agree, I think you need to explain to what extent other countries can get something out of this pie. And this could be solved not necessarily through tax, is also to appease maybe some of the countries that already took matters into their own hands, and they already came up with digital taxes, like I was mentioning half an hour ago. And so basically they need to convince them to give up such endeavors. So give up some of their domestic tax policy in order to go along with this larger global plan. So I think it's ambitious. I think it's doable, but the devil is in the details, and negotiations are going to be critical, and they need to set up these details of the deal very, very carefully for it to succeed.
So what's your hunch? Will there be a deal by the end of the year? Yes or no, Pascal?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes, there will be a deal, some kind of deal. Yes.
Joanna?
Yes, I agree. There will be some sort of deal.
Okay, let's assume there is a deal. What would the implications be for Europe and the EU? There's a long-standing conflict inside the EU between low-tax jurisdictions like Ireland and Hungary, and more high-tax jurisdictions like Germany and France. And how will this conflict be transformed by a possible deal at the global level? So will a global deal allow Europe to finally speak with one voice on tax, or will it, to the contrary, sharpen the old entrenched lines of conflict? Joanna, you want to start on this?
Yes. I think this might be an opportunity for us to revisit the issue of a fiscal union, because while it was discussed during the debt crisis, remember, We tend to forget that a monetary union cannot properly work without a fiscal union, and of course the eurozone will always be in danger of not being able to deal with asymmetric shocks if there isn't a fiscal union. I think it will open the discussion. I'm not sure how optimistic I am that this discussion is going to be a fruitful one, because from what I've been seeing so far within EU about discussing about domestic fiscal policies, is that it's really people are getting reminded that EU, it's a collection of independent countries with independently elected parliaments and governments, and that have local issues, local problems that need to be to have local solutions. And this is also an argument that maybe not all economists agree, but most of the voters would agree about this. So that's why it is a very popular one, and it is likely to be heard when we're discussing about fiscal union. So I think it's going to be extremely difficult to make all European countries to speak on one voice on tax matters, especially because of issues like this.
Thank you, Thomas.